and welcome back to the Calling the Real You podcast. Today we're going to be talking about 7 ways or 7 tips to find your divine path of instinct and the why you might want to just incorporate these tips into your life. I'm Pamella Horton, creator of Calling the Real You blog and your host of the Calling the Real You podcast. And I consider myself to be a modern-day spiritual explorer with decades of personal and professional experience as a social worker, entrepreneur, business development expert and consultant, certified coach, spiritual teacher, and an intuitive. I'm best known, however, as the connector, connecting professionals with people and opportunities, and most importantly, helping people connect with their source to consciously create success in all areas of their lives. I also aspire to help people make conscious, mindful decisions so that they can center themselves and that they can live a simplified and abundant life. So thank you. Thank you for gathering in the sacred space with me. Thank you for sharing your precious time, and it's an absolute pleasure and honor to be of service. I'm supremely inspired that we are here together. And I'd like to begin with a grounding exercise. So please, get comfortable. If you're driving, I invite you to come back and experience the exercise or intention, really, when you're not driving. So get comfortable, become aware of your breathing without necessarily trying to change the rhythm. And if you are called to take several deep breaths, please by all means do so. I also invite you to become aware of the touch points that your body is making on the cushion or the seat or the couch, bed, floor, etc. that you're sitting in or lying upon. Just become aware. I ask that we all be surrounded by the white light of protection, both individually and collectively, so that only that of the Most High may enter. I ask that all of our egos be swept aside so that we can connect today the way that we were always meant to connect, our heart center. I ask that all of us be engaged, not just on a physical level, but on a cellular level as well. May we all have open hearts and open minds to today's call. May you have the courage to move forward in the direction that you might be encouraged to move forward in today. And may you be kind to yourself and everyone that you encounter today and every day. I ask this in love and light. So let's get to it. Let's get right into it. I was prompted to remind myself of the 4 agreements today, based on an exchange that occurred last night through Facebook messaging after I had posted a message. And if you are not familiar with the 4 agreements, it is a book about agreements, 4 of them, and it was written by Don Miguel Ruiz. And if you're, again, not familiar with them, what the 4 agreements are is, number 1, be impeccable with your word, speak with integrity, say only what you mean, and avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about other people, and use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. Number 2, don't take anything personally. My experience over the years is that anything that somebody does that might be perceived to you, like an attack, etc., has nothing to do with you and everything to do with their existing belief system and their existing beliefs and feelings about themselves. Nothing others do is because of you. This is part of the agreement. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. The third agreement is don't make assumptions. Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama. And with just this one agreement, you can probably completely transform your life. And then the fourth agreement that Don speaks of is always doing your best. Your best is going to change from moment to moment, and it will be different when you are healthy as opposed to when you are sick. Under any circumstances, simply do your best, and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. Now, I bring this to your attention because my belief is that we are born perfect. Our soul is absolutely perfect 100% of the time, from birth to death. And it's the in-between moments, the lessons that we've been given, the emotional baggage and the belief systems that have been given to us and downloaded to us from our primary caretakers, teachers, authoritative figures, institutions, etc. But again, I believe that we are our soul is born perfect, whole, and complete. I mean, think of a baby, right? A baby is simply beautiful, innocent, needs guidance, etc. And they don't have any knowledge of any belief system. They just, they need food and they need their mother's milk and that's it, right? In the first few months of life. So they don't have any disagreements, adversities, emotional adversities, that is, that they are even aware of. And I've always wondered why, if we are born perfect, because that's a belief that I've grown into, that I've come to believe in, why is it that some people just simply experience a life devoid of true bliss and abundance? I don't know why. Over the years, it took me years and years and years to figure out. And what I have learned is that life becomes complicated when our mind, which is the problem solver, right, activates our ego. Our mind activates our ego in order to serve as a protector. I mentioned that we are downloaded and given other people's belief systems, ways of thinking about certain things. Some people like seafood, some people don't like seafood. Some people, whatever tradition, you can interject any tradition here. But usually, when we grow up and we are told the same story over and over and over again about ourselves, we grow to protect ourselves. Our ego comes to the rescue, so to speak. And it comes to the rescue through uses of defense, deflection, dismissal, disassociation, and blame as an armor, so that the ego can block any kind of perceived attacks based on other people's projected beliefs, fears, and limitations. And I'm going to give you an example here, a simple one. When I get completely stressed, and if I am not cognizant of the fact that I've fallen out of my spiritual practice, I will eat a lot of food. I will eat larger portions than what I'm used to. I will use a lot of salt. I probably will engage in caffeine, and it's just a defense mechanism. That's not good for me, right? So my ego has been activated for whatever reason, whatever cause of stress. And a specific example is in terms of acting using deflection or defense. When I am in those moments of taking larger portions or using excessive salt even, my husband, who loves me tremendously, will say, something to the effect of, have you looked at the amount of salt you put on your plate just now? Or, I really wish you wouldn't use so much salt, right? And he's saying this why? Because first of all, he knows how bad salt can be or how bad large portions can be without proper exercise, and the habit that I could get myself back into, because I was actually overweight at one point in my life due to stress eating. And it's not healthy, and I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, etc. And so my husband, coming from pure love, pure intention, a pure heart, pure concern for my own well-being, more so than I have for my own well-being. I'm not concerned in those moments of stress and acting out of ego, so to speak. I actually become angry and super defensive and snap at him. And it's not fair to him, because all he is doing is actually being of his right mind and sharing his concern for me. But I will defend myself. I'll deflect the situation. I'll craft up a story about it as to the why, of the justification that I'm giving. And if I'm really in the thick of my ego, I'll then end up dismissing him and the entire conversation. And then I'll just disassociate myself from the experience. And in years past, when I wasn't practicing consciousness and mindfulness, I would even blame him for his love of me. I mean, my goodness, how ridiculous is that? So his fear, and coming from a pure heart, though, his fear of my not becoming healthy or not being healthy in that moment because of consistent high salt content, salt intake, really, I was feeling attacked in those moments, and that's why I would defend, deflect, dismiss, disassociate, blame, etc. Most people have ego-to-ego relationships versus soul-to-soul relationships, and Eric, my husband, and I we worked on having a soul-to-soul relationship. And so even if I am triggered now, it doesn't last very, very long in terms of my defense, deflection, dismissal. And when we live more from our ego takes over and dims our soul's guiding light and ultimately interferes with our divine path of instinct. There's a shift that's from ego that takes place and goes into soul living. So we go from ego to soul living. It takes practice and kindness, however. And my personal shift from ego existence to soul living transformed me from a victim to victor, anxiety to peace, divorce to married bliss, because I was married once before. It also transformed me from financial ruin to abundance, fat to fit, fear to confident, rat race to semi-retired, and always seeking to have it all, quote unquote, having it all, to being just extremely grateful for already having it all. My hope is to inspire you today to look at the real you, your soul, with a new point of view by following your divine path, your divine plan. And to follow your divine path of instinct, one must practice the following. Number one, we have to surrender. Surrendering, however, does not mean give in or give up. It's about recognizing that there is a divine plan for you, a plan that your soul, the real you, walks hand in hand with. When we go off course, the universe and, your higher power, in many ways, delivers heavy-duty lessons as if to snap you out of it. I call it a universal 2x4. You might get involved in a severe car accident, or an unexpected bill might come in to your home, a health scare, personal health scare. You might be in a revolving door when it comes to jobs. You're unable to keep a job. You go off course when you make choices that are not conscious to live an unhealthy life, for example. And surrendering is about stop putting the square peg into the round hole. There is nothing for any of us to control. In fact, when we try to control an outcome, that's when we rob ourselves of pure joy. It's extremely counterintuitive. So the first step to following your divine path of instinct and being impeccable with our word and not taking anything personally and not making assumptions and always doing our best is really to surrender. The second tip, if you will, is to accept, being in a state of acceptance, accepting with grace where you are exactly in your life right here and right now, whether that's in between jobs, whether that's in a relationship that you are not happy in or happy with, whether that is emotional turmoil because of family upset, not having a certain dollar figure in your bank account, not having the ability to pay certain bills, possibly being heavier than what you would like, not being in good shape. You get the idea. The idea is accepting all of that about you, accepting exactly where you are right here and right now, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and mentally. When we accept, there's no blame or complaint. So if you hear yourself complaining about something or blaming about something, you're not in a state of acceptance. You haven't surrendered to the process, to the moment. So accept your debt, accept your unhappiness, accept your heartburn, your loneliness, etc. It is what it is, guys. Trust in your higher power's plan, your divine plan, because it has its reasons to bring these levels of upset. The third tip is signs. Watch out for signs. Become aware of certain music, titles of songs, choruses of songs, certain numbers. Are there number patterns or sequences that keep presenting themselves, like 1111 or 222 or 49, whatever it is, 777? Are there specific animals, insects that keep showing up in your world? The universe has a language of symbolism, and so you're invited to become aware of that symbolism, those signs, especially if they are signs of a big neon yes with an exclamation point, right? That's a sign of keep going. You're on the right path. In fact, if you see the number 7 over and over again, that is the universe, that is your higher power telling you that you are absolutely on the right path. When you ignore the no signs, no in a big neon sign with an exclamation point, these no symbolisms or signs are roadblocks that pop up. They make your life extremely difficult. If you're experiencing difficulty at all, you are ignoring the no signs. The yeses are what I refer to as the universal breadcrumbs that lead you to amazing opportunities. So pay attention to and become aware of the signs that say yes and the signs that say no, whether you're on the right path or not on the right path. The fourth tip is gratitude. And I spoke about gratitude in the first podcast, which is feel grateful for everyone and everything. And the word every is in capital letters here. Everyone and everything, be grateful for them. Be grateful for the most dreadful and uncomfortable experiences. When you approach all situations from the viewpoint of gratitude, your soul will then connect with your divine path in a very profound way, and you will begin to attract greater possibilities and opportunities into your life that you really can be grateful for. So how do you do that? I want to touch base on the gratitude aspect of it. I used to work for a corporation, and there was one specific coworker of mine that I really just did not get along well with. There was this power struggle between the two of us. And when I stopped resisting and surrendered into that moment, accepted it for what it was, because it is what it is, and became grateful for her, because it was her, it was our butting heads, it was our power struggles, it was our uncomfortable energy that we felt when we were around one another, that actually was a gift. And I started to view moments of adversity with her and other moments of adversity in my life as gifts, because they are the key to understanding what you don't want in your life, and therefore you can begin asking for what it is that you do want in your life. And when you are grateful for any and every situation, person, etc., it just opens up those doors much quicker. So yes, the person that you are the angriest with at this moment, thank them, because that is a gift. It's shaping you, and it has shaped you into the person that you are today. Even if you are experiencing lack, etc., it's showing you what you don't want, so you know what you do want. Number 5. Judgment. Don't have it. Don't have judgment. Not toward yourself, not toward others. Don't jump to any conclusions about anything. Because when we judge, when we conclude, when we come to a assessment of something without having proper facts, we actually block the flow of our divine rights. We block our own divine path. And the judgment, jumping to conclusions and assuming, making assumptions, causes a lot of pain within your actual physical and spiritual or emotional energy bodies. The best way to get out of judgment is to be in a state of constant question. And an example of that is when we make a judgment about our finances, for example, why don't we have enough money? Or if we make a judgment about our romantic relationship, why aren't we getting along? Why is she like this? Why is he like this? Why can't we just be, whatever? Why can't things just go smoothly? Those are all statements that I just made. So when you interject a question and are in a state of mind that is a questioning state of mind, we can ask a question like, how does it get any better than this? Even if it's the most dire moment. How can I show my affection to my loved one right here, right now? I wonder how she is feeling. Is she feeling fear? You get the idea. When we are in a state of question, there is no room for judgment, and therefore we cut off any kind of suffering that we would have, and we become even closer to and on our divine path so that we can receive our divine birthrights and a simplified, abundant life. Number 6, wonder. This goes into a little bit of the questioning, but when you hear yourself saying, I am not good enough, which is a statement, right? It's a judgment. Instead of moving along as if the statement were true, wonder about the origin of your belief. Just wonder about that. I wonder where I learned that I'm, quote, unquote, I'm not good enough. Where did that come from? Wonder about that. You will find that it is from someone else's judgment and not your own soul. This one is really important. So when you are blaming yourself for something, when you are putting yourself down, when you're not being kind to yourself, ask, who does this belong to? How do I know this? Where does this come from? Begin to ask those questions again. Wonder out loud. It disengages you from the judgment, disengages you from any outcome, and it brings you closer to your divine path of instinct. And the last one, number 7, is receive. Allow all possible outcomes to present themselves to you. Don't expect any one specific outcome. Don't expect a worst case scenario or a best case scenario. Receiving opens up new doorways for things to enter into your life in ways that you never could have imagined. Personal experience. I know this. I know these steps are powerful. I know that these steps absolutely work. And I know that these steps help you choose joy. And these steps also help you be impeccable with your word. They help you to not take anything personally. They help you to not make assumptions. And they always help you to do your best in life. I hope you found today's episode extremely helpful. I want to thank you again, every one of you who joined me here. You can find me at several places. You can find me on LinkedIn. Pamela is spelled with 2 L's, Pamella Horton. You can find me on Facebook at www.facebook.com/callingtherealYOU. You can find me at callingtherealYOU.com, and I definitely invite you to connect with me. I wish to thank at this moment the infinite source of our creation. I want to thank my husband, Eric Horton, the Reverend Patricia Brooks, because if it wasn't for her platform at Sacred Stories, we would not be having the opportunity to connect through Calling the Real You podcast. I also want to thank our sponsors, Lisa and Ferrante of Lux Salon and Spa, Yolanta Bremer of Yola Portraits, Karen DeFelice of Karen DeFelice Designs, and the transformational music that you heard today, which was created by Jim Oliver from JimOliverMusic.com. And you can find all of these folks through me and my websites, and you can certainly personal message me at mavensconnections.com or Pamela at callingtherealyou.com, and I'll happily get that information over to you. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and remember, call out the real you. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.